Hi, so today I'm going to be teaching my client over here how to do a plank. A plank is a good static stability exercise for the core because it involves statically holding the core rigid along a board. Basically, your body is a board. It stabilizes the back of the core is in the low back and the front of the core in the abs and the obliques and the transverse abdominis muscle. This exercise I chose because it's easy to do anywhere. You can do it anywhere in your house. A patient can easily do it no matter what sort of exercise equipment they have. They have furniture to do the regressions, which I'll get into later, and the progressions, which I'll also get into in a minute. But the basic of a plank is as follows. You're going to get down on all fours. I'll hand you the camera so you can see this. And you are going to basically go down. You want your elbows to be directly below your shoulders. So mine are a little far forward. And you want basically your body to be flat as possible. You don't want to droop like this because that means the core is not engaging properly. You're just sort of resting a little bit. Or you don't want your butt too high because then it's not hitting the muscles we want to target. So this is the form. You want it flat as possible. Like this. That is the basic of a plank. You can hold it you can increase the duration to make it a better workout. However, there are some progressions and regressions you can do with them. So for the progressions, for the first one, you do a static hold with your feet elevated. So if I were to open this cabinet, it adds a little bit of elevation to my feet if I were to rest them there instead of on the ground, which would make it a little more intense on my core, as it would change the angle my body is interacting with the ground. So for this, I'm going to rest my feet up, and the idea is the same. You want your shoulders and elbows in line. You want your elbows directly below your shoulders, and you want to hold your body as straight as possible. So I felt my core droop a little, so I braced it up a little bit. You will feel, the way to sort of tell when you're drooping is you'll feel that sort of stretch in your front hip, the front of your hip, and when your butt's too high, you'll feel tension in the front of your hips, a little too much tension, whereas the tension should be more in your tummy. So you want to sort of find that balance between there and keep it at neutral. And you can do this for as long as possible, or as long as you want. I would use the default plank and this plank in, as well as my regression, my first regression, which is a modified. You just, instead of using your feet as one of the points of contact with the floor, use your knee, so it only supports a portion of your body weight rather than your whole body weight. The regression would look like this. So again, you want whole body flat as board between your points of contact. A lot easier to do this. It's a great starting point for someone. And my second regression is to do it against a vertical surface. So again, this is even less weight on the core and more support from the object. You just do this and then you hold as long as possible, keeping your body straight. All three of these are static isometric hold exercises, so they can be done as early as the demolition phase of injury. The progressions, I already went over one. It can also be done during the demolition phase, but it is a little more intense, so I wouldn't start them with that unless they're comfortable and experienced with the plank. For my second progression, we're going to take it from a static isometric hold to a dynamic hold. The way to do this is we're going to get down into our plank position, ensuring good form, same things as before, elbows directly below the shoulders, in line with the shoulders, body straight, horizontally. And what we're going to do is we're going to tuck our leg out and up on either side while maintaining our body position. This will change it from a static isometric hold to a dynamic one, which increases the strain on the core. This one I would do as early as the early healing stage, as it's a little more intense and involves some concentrics of the hip, which could be involved with any injury where we would use this. The main injuries I would use this to help are back injuries, as well as hip injuries potentially, because it will get the hip involved. The hip will be implicated with bracing the core a little bit because they're connected. It's a great exercise for rehabbing those because it addresses the structures around the injured, the musculature around the injured structures. So any back pain, it strengthens up the low back, strengthens up the core on the front as well. And it works them both evenly because they both have to work to brace it from drooping on either side. Either you go too high or go too low and it braces it. So I am going to now coach my athlete through doing these 5 movements. So we're going to start with the basic plank. We'll start with the regressions maybe and work our way to all the way up to the progressions. So we'll start with the easiest one, which is the wall plank. If you want, I can just close this cupboard and you can do it here or there, whatever's your phone. So again, shoulders should be in line with elbows. Yep. And you're just going to hold and brace your body straight, relatively straight, against the wall. That's good. Your body's in line, fairly in line. The next one is the modified plank. So instead of using your feet on the ground, you're going to use your knees. Same rules apply between your arms and your knees. It should be straight as possible. Yeah, so keep sliding your knees back until your thighs are in line with your back. Yep, that is pretty good. Your butt's a little high, so if you can't, yep, there you go. And notice his arms kind of, instead of being directly in line here, so you got to tuck your elbow back a little bit. There you go. That is proper plank form with regards to the arms. Now for our starting plank, the fundamental plank I'll call it for say, from the feet, your points of contact are your feet and your arms. So again, arms at 90, body should be relatively flat, which it is. That is good plank form. So for our first progression, it would be to elevate his feet. So instead, I'm going to have him do his plank from up on the cabinet there, with his feet up on the cabinet. The goal is the same. Keep his body as straight as possible. Your arm, yeah, that's good, yeah. That would be our first progression. And then our second progression would be to add a leg lift or a leg motion to this. So for that, I'm going to have him go back on the ground. Yeah, back to your normal plank, your fundamental plank position, body straight. And he's going to bring and tuck his leg out and up, out to the side and up towards his body that way, like so. He does it there. And the goal is to keep his body as straight as possible, bracing his core while he's doing that. The reason I didn't have him do it up directly on with his feet elevated is because we are slightly changing the movement. This is a good starting point for a dynamic stability exercise for the core. We don't want to jump into more load right away. I'd rather just slightly change the fundamentals of the exercise. This exercise will also have some proprioception involved, as it involves coordinating your balance over a smaller base, as in you take away one foot, and yeah. Yep. That is everything. So for reference, he is a criminology student, not a kin student. Yeah.
Yep.
He studies criminals. Yep. But yeah, that is it. Have a great night.